All right, fellas, the week is finally here. It is Bama, Georgia week. Bama at home. Night game, Tuscaloosa, Bryant Denny. Anything you want to say about this game is going to be huge and have somewhat big implications on the rest of the season. But it's very interesting to keep it on with this new format that we got in the SEC, where this could also be another rematch that we see in the SEC championship game and also maybe even in the playoffs with this new format that we have right now. So this is the first kind of telltale matchup that we've been discussing, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago of what teams could see each other for two and possibly three times later down the road, and this could be a round one type of matchup. Georgia going into this game is a 2-point favorite as of right now, which is Wednesday night. I don't know how much that's going to hold going into this, but to me, when I look at this game and I look at these two teams, to me, the game is really going to be decided with Georgia's defense versus Bama's offense, in my honest opinion. Because I think when you look at Bama's defense going up against Georgia's offense, I think is going to do the same thing that they've done all year, where they don't have a guy who's shown up yet to carry that offense, whether it be in the receiving room, the running back room. Carson Beck, he's supposed to be the dog out there, but you need somebody to get the ball to. Somebody's got to take the helm and score. And on top of that, they've already shown signs this season versus the Clemson, against Kentucky, where they started out these games extremely slow and let people hang around with them for an entire half of football before they kind of wake up. And even when they wake up, they only really took off again against the Clemson team. When you look at the defensive matchup, Georgia still has a lot of dogs on defense. They've got people all over the field that are athletes. They're deep. They've got a whole bunch of playmakers back there, and it's going to be interesting to match up with Bama. With Bama having, you flash and you score a whole bunch of points against Wisconsin. The only game you kind of struggle with was against the South Florida game. And when you look at all of Georgia's defensive ratings, their points per game is third in the nation. Total yards is fourth in the nation. Their only real low cut stat on defense is their rushing yards allowed, which they let teams kind of rush the ball on them pretty well, which kind of favors Bama, being that Milroe is a guy that if he gets out of the pocket, he can get dangerous running the ball. And the same goes for Alabama's offense, is one of the highest rated offenses in college football right now. You've got Ryan Williams out there, who's a playmaker week in and week out. I think a big thing to do is keep an eye on is will he have the same impact that he's been having these past couple of weeks against a top-notch defense in Georgia? If he shows up and has a big game like he's been having, and a lot of his plays have been big time plays, like down the field, big time scoring plays. Will that happen against Georgia? And if it does happen against Georgia, Georgia will be I think they'll be in a heap of trouble, because I do not think if this gets into a scoring match that Georgia can keep up with them. So I'm gonna keep my part short. I know y'all are two Bama fans for the show, so I'm gonna let y'all hit this one off. But I'm gonna go ahead and give my prediction. I got Bama winning this one. I think them being at home, them being a night game for this, I got Bama winning this game, and I'm putting more of it on. I do not believe Georgia's offense can get it going. This is one of those games that we've talked about with Georgia, where if somebody jumps on you early, can you come back into the game and depend on your offense to keep you in it? I think this is where that liability finally comes into play, and they go down this week to Alabama.
Yeah. I think so. One, even though you're not a Bama fan, I still appreciate your input, because that a lot of stuff right there, even some stuff that I didn't even know when it comes to this game. I'm kind of looking at this game from a bigger picture than more like stat line and stuff like that. But before I even get into my analysis of this game, I've been waiting. I don't know about y'all, but has college football felt like college football yet to y'all? I feel like I'm still waiting for that game that really just get things off to a high rolling punch. And this is it.
Hmm.
These teams
Hmm.
right here, man, it's gonna be a dog fight and no emphasis on the dogs. That's what I really feel like when it comes to this game right here. So there's so many different factors when it comes to this game. And I think these two teams, even with a new coach being involved, they're not that far off from knowing each other and knowing how each other play, knowing how each other reacts to certain stuff like that. So Debo's first big primetime game at Bama is going to be a huge standpoint, but I think this Bama team knows a lot about this Georgia team. So I don't think they're going to come in this game afraid. That's number one. But I think, man, it's going to be too much about the offenses. I think from a defensive standpoint, I think both defenses are going to be head honchos in this game. I think both defenses are going to come to out there with a strong game plan to slow down the other team. But when you think on Bama's side, with a new coach, with a new system, is things going to be clicking early enough to get on ahead? Question number one. Are we going to be able to stay away from penalties? Are we going to be able to stay away from miscommunication? Are we going to be able to stay away from turnovers early in this game to really solidify Bama's culture that was in the past in this game? That's a huge question for me. Question number two for Bama is, what type of quarterback are we going to see from Jalen Milroe? Who is he going to be in this primetime game? And I don't think he has to throw for 300 yards to beat this team.
Mm.
He's got to be like he was in the SEC championship, or we're first down oriented. We get first downs, beat the clock, beat Georgia. That's the game. That's the game plan right there. That's how we get this job done. So I don't think it's got to be a 30-point, 40-point game when it's going to come to offenses. But I think both offenses are going to be truly tested. Now let me jump to Georgia side for a second. Defensively, like I said, I don't have any really questions about Georgia's defense. There are going to be some true dogs on that field, and I know we got to come ready and prepared. But Georgia's offense, I don't think they really have a guy, like you said, Van, that can come out there and just dominate Bama. If he is, show me on the roster where he's at, because I can see a quarterback, he's a first-round guy, but he's not that guy. I like the new running back you got from Florida. What's his name? Trevor Etienne.
Yep.
Travis Etienne's brother. I like him as well, too. But when I look at the outside, you're going to have to beat us on the outside. I don't see your O-line dominating our defensive line. I don't see a lot of the stuff that Georgia's based around happening in this game. I think it's going to be a true chess match when it comes to how our offense are going to get things rolling. But I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I think the first to get to 20 wins this game. The first to get to 20 wins this game. Now, at Bama, you got all my faith that you can get to 20. I just want to see how clean of a game we're going to come out the gates with. I think that's really going to be a tall tale sign in this game right here. So it's going to be so much atmosphere when it comes to it. Night game, like you said, man, is going to be impactful. That is home game for Bama is going to be impactful. There's going to be so much in this thing that's going to shift in Bama's way. But it's just, I don't know if Bama can just let it fall in their hands like they used to be able to do with Nick Saban. There were certain wins that I know Nick Saban, he ain't going to let this one get out of his hand. This is an easy wrap-up victory for Nick Saban, and this is what this is shaping up to be. But can Debo take that reign of what Nick Saban was when it comes to dominating your true opponents that come into your household? And we're going to see if that's going to happen Saturday night. So, we've revved up for a big-time game, and I hope everybody out there watching is ready to see this game right here, true, because I've seen a lot of teams play. I've seen Texas and Michigan. I've seen Tennessee and Oklahoma, but I have not seen that true just dog-eat-dog game yet. And this is going to be it. So, Sean, I really want to see what you got to say about it, because I think we're going to be in for a show. And I want Bama to be on top. My prediction is going to be Bama's 24, Georgia 17.
Man, listen, you just said it, Drew. We've seen a couple of big games. The Michigan game. USC done played a couple of big games. You know what I'm saying? This is the game. Top 5 matchup, prime time, in Tuscaloosa, game day, whole 9 yards. It don't get no bigger than this, right? Y'all stop me when I'm wrong. I'm going to just rattle off a few things here. Jalen Milroe, in my opinion, even in a new system, is better this year than he was last year, and they beat Georgia in the SEC championship.
Correct.
Alabama's wide receiver room, in my opinion, is better this year than it was last year when they beat Georgia on a neutral site in Georgia in the SEC championship game. Alabama's running back room, in my opinion, is better this year than it was last year, and they beat Georgia on a neutral site in the SEC championship game. Okay, Georgia does not have, Brock Bowers that's got that Superman on his chest. They don't have Ladd McConkey.
Mm-hmm.
They got injuries up and down the defensive line. Georgia, in my opinion, is not as good as they were last year when they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game.
in my opinion. Now, we want to talk about coaching. All right. Now, we may be able to say, all right, we can go tit for tat here. Okay. Alabama secondary, I think, may be a little suspect. Okay. We saw USF throw some deep balls to some wide open receivers, right? That they just missed on. Okay. But those are things that are easily correctable through film study. Okay. It's not like Bama has a deficiency in the secondary. They're just young. They're just young. Okay. They just need a little more time. And do we think Carson Beck is going to be able to exploit that? I don't know. Let's go to the trenches. Alabama's offensive line and defensive line, in my opinion, are better than they were last year. And they beat Georgia in a neutral site in the SEC championship game. All I'm saying is, to me, not just on paper, I'm talking about eye test also so far this year. Alabama just looks better than Georgia. And the only question marks that you really have if you're a Georgia fan to say, okay, this is how we beat Bama. I'm going to tell you how Georgia beats Bama. And this is tricky. Going into a football game as a head coach, you do not want to have to do this to win a game. They're going to have to load up the box and stop Jalen Milroe from running the football and stop Jam Miller in the running back room for Alabama from running the ball and make Jalen Milroe beat you passing the football. That's the only way for Georgia, if you ask me. And I don't even know if that's a safe bet. Nope. I don't know if it's a safe bet with what Milroe has what he has at his disposal on the outside. So if I look at this game objectively, taking my allegiance to out of the picture, coaching is probably going to be the reason why Georgia wins this game if they win this game. They are not at home. They have slow starts. They have injuries on the defensive line. What the thing that they have to do to stop Alabama, they're not at full strength right now to even do that. Now, 4 or 5 weeks from now, or come playoff time, when they get fully healthy and they get some of these knuckleheads back from stupid injuries and getting arrested from driving down the street too fast or whatever the case may be, maybe then you talk about a Georgia team at full strength. Georgia's not at full strength right now. Alabama has nothing to lose. They are the underdog. Nick Saban is not there. Kalen DeBoer is full aware of that. Tuscaloosa's going to be rocking. I got Alabama relatively big in this game. When I say big, I'm talking about a 10-point victory. I do think it's going to be a defensive struggle early for both teams because they're going to be feeling each other out. I just don't think Georgia has enough, y'all. I just do not think they have enough. At the end of the day, this game is going to be 24-20, 24-17, somewhere in that ballpark. Alabama's going to control the game the whole way. Georgia's going to hang around, but they're just not. They're just not going to have enough. Now, the game is going to have all the pageantry. It's going to be close enough throughout to the point to where interest is going to be there. My question is, where does Bama jump to after the victory? You know what I'm saying? Do they jump to 2? Do they jump to 1? Because this would be the best win of the college football season so far this year. And probably, I don't know everybody's schedule, but will probably be the best win of any team all year long, right? When it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So, Bama wins this game. Trajectory is just going this way. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia is just not quite ready. They're not full strength. Georgia is a playoff team. Georgia's going to be there at the end when it really counts. I just don't think this is their week to get it done.
I feel a lot of those points. I think one of the things you said that was key when we talked about this game is how close it's really going to be in the trenches. Because I think what you said about Georgia's defense and the only way they can really stop Bama, I think that is exactly how they're going to do it. But you're playing such a slippery slope in that formula, trying to get this game done. Because if you stack the box, One, Jalen Milroe is one of his best attributes as a deep ball.
Exactly.
If
Yes.
you get multiple opportunities in the game, I'm not saying it's going to be every player, every deep ball, but multiple opportunities where Alabama can get one-on-one coverage down the field. They got three guys that they're confident in that can go make a play or get a penalty in the aspects to get some really big momentum plays. I think the thing that slows that down is, can Bama be efficient early in the game? You know, I love that word. What I really mean by that is in that first quarter, no penalties, no turnovers, and no 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
Big points. Big points. That I feel like Georgia early in this game, I think they're going to look for a huge momentum shift to get them revved up. I don't think Georgia's going to come out the tunnel ready to really play this game. I just do not think it. Having 2 weeks of preparation, I think they're going to be prepared for the game, but you're really not going to really understand the magnitude of this game until you that first real big impact on this. I think it's going to be a momentum shift early in this game that Georgia's going to try to force an aspect of a turnover or a big hit or a big play on offense or something like that that really kind of demoralizes Bama and make them question who they are. Because that's what I really think about this game is the team that has the stronger identity is going to be the team to win it. Now,
and let's not forget about this. Now I brought this up probably podcast 1 or 2. One thing that Kalen DeBoer has been able to do, and if I was the head coach of Alabama when I came in after Nick Saban, knowing that we got Georgia at week 4, I'm trying to keep stuff as vanilla as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. Are you preparing for Washington's offense? Or are you preparing for what you've seen from Alabama thus far?
Right.
Man, if I'm the defensive coordinator in Athens right now, I don't know who to prepare for. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got plenty of film, but, you know, I watched a lot of film from the playoff game, Washington and Texas from last season. Mm-hmm. Now, this is when Kalen DeBoer had his complete arsenal wide open with Penix Jr. at the helm, right? Man, it's a very complicated offense to try to figure out. And if Kalen DeBoer, if they've been working on these complexities that you have seen from Washington, let's say from last year, if he just decides to bring some of that stuff out with the talent that's in Tuscaloosa, I got a strong feeling Kalen DeBoer been holding on to a lot of stuff, and he gonna bring that stuff out on Saturday. And Kirby they gonna be shook.
Yeah,
shook. I think it's gonna be a problem in Tuscaloosa for Georgia for a multitude of reasons, and the biggest reason probably being the fact that this game is being played so early in the season.
Yeah. I need somebody to figure out how many times Kirby Smart and Debo have played each other. Have they played each other outside of this game right here?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember. Even with Debo's other stops, I don't think they've ever.
I think that's going to be a huge issue when it comes to Kirby Smart. If Kirby Smart loses his first ever game to the new Bama head coach, I think it'll be like a shadow over Georgia.
Yeah, but, and that because it used to be the discussion between Kirby was, you know, is it a Nick Saban problem or is it a Bama problem? If you lose this game, this turns into a you can't get over the hump of Bama problem. If you win it, it takes you, okay, I just couldn't beat Kirby. I mean, I just couldn't beat Nick. I couldn't beat Nick. Nick's gone. I'm the king. It's like that moment we talked about a couple weeks ago where Georgia has never been able to get that stranglehold that Bama had over the SEC and over the country. Georgia's been winning, but it's still that cloud hanging over your head. Like, you have not taken it from Bama yet. Bama is still right there. You have not done it yet. You can't make this your mark. And I was saying another thing, this has the recipe. If Georgia comes out and has the same type of game that they had against Kentucky, this could get ugly. And it could get ugly fast. Because, Sean, like you were saying, if you get to the point where you got to stack the box to stop the run game, right? Bama's got too many weapons on the outside that they find okay with. And you got Milroe, who's one of the highest rated anybody in the country There's nobody in the country better than Milroe passing. I think the stat was 20 plus yards down the field. He's the most, and he's more accurate throwing it that far, and he's got the most receptions and TD passes 20 plus yards down the field already. It was continued over from last season, but I'm telling you, he's gonna kill you on the deep ball if that happens. And if the Georgia can't get the offense rolling early, if Bama gets in one of these things, like they just catch fire because it's like it's a propane tank that the gas is leaking. All it takes is a spark to get going. If they get into one of those type of situations and they just get to going, this could be a bad day for Georgia.
Well, I'll say 2 points before you can finish up, Sean. I think one huge point is, man, Georgia, I don't think they have a chance versus Bama even stacking the box unless Bama shoots themselves in the foot too many times. I really don't think about it. So when you think about that aspect of the game, that's going to be taught to them. I think stacking the box is going to put more pressure on Bama to communicate. So they have to be on the same page when it comes to penalties and stuff like that. False starts and holder penalties is going to be a huge thing for Bama in this game, early in this game, getting things rolling. Second thing is the Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart narrative. I don't think, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see Kirby Smart as an X's and O's coach. I see him as a motivating head coach, and he'll get his players ready to run through a wall for people. And I think Nick Saban understood that. So he was like, look, if I can have my team, I got a team with just the amount of talent as Georgia does. If I can have my guys with better technique, better skill, and better overall game plan assignment when it comes to scheme, he knows that he can beat his guys have the edge. So when it comes to Kirby Smart versus Debo, I don't think much has changed in the aspect of who Kirby Smart is as a head coach. I think they're going to be truly motivated and truly ready to run through a wall. But it's going to be what type of head coach is Debo in the aspect of, is he going to have these guys more prepared on a mental standpoint to be running to this team? And I think everything, like Sean said, is in Bama's favor. Everything that you said was correct. I didn't hear you say one false line, which is why Bama should win this game. But I think that's the same reason why Bama can lose this game. It's because it's really falling in their lap to win. Are you there yet in this program?
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 3-year, 4 type of thing to really be prepared for this type of game so early in the season to be able to go out there and execute every single phase of the game. So I think there's so many factors in this game that people are not really understanding. Yeah, it's Bama versus Georgia, history books, everything that's in the past. But man, there's so much detail in this game that I feel like it's going to be a show to watch. That's why I feel like this is the true kickoff to college football. Everything else has been great, but the better team won in those games that we saw in the past. And it was pretty obvious outside of LSU, USC. To me, the better team won. But when you think of this game right here, it's going to be about true scheme when it comes to how the team's going to get the job done. So, man, we're in for a show. We're in for a show. And I think one last 2 points. On Bama's side, well, I'm going to go Georgia first because Bama should end off on a high note. On Georgia's side, if there's ever going to be that guy who's going to come out this year and be that dominant player, he's going to show up Saturday night. He's going to emerge as that top guy Saturday night for Georgia. But on Bama's side, let me go ahead and make this statement for y'all. Let's go ahead and get the drum roll for it. If Bama comes out this side on the way it should be, Jalen Milroe is going to be your Heisman Trophy candidate because he's going to be the guy to really take over this game to the next stratosphere. And I think in his development, because I think, like you said, Sean, they're going to force him to pass the ball. I think he's going to be proficient. They're going to force him to run the ball as well, too, because they're going to be having pressure around him in the pocket. And I think if he can come out there and be a true dual threat, man, I think Kirby Smart is going to have his mouth on the floor, really not understanding what to say or what to do in that moment because he's just running against a guy we can't stop. So it's so much about this game, Sean. You can finish this off and end it however you want to. But, man, I got Bama winning this game. I think it's going to be really, really dominant in the way it's going. I don't think the score is going to be dominant, but I think really how things work in the aspect is going to be dominant, and especially for early regime for Debo. I got his back on this one. Bama's going to take this all the way home.
Yep. And I think Bama has a clear-cut advantage in regards to who they played thus far. And they ain't played that many, like, head-hunting teams or whatever, but USF provided them a lot of opportunity to make mistakes that could be corrected prior to getting into the SEC season. right? USF spreads you out. I looked at their quarterback's numbers, man. This guy is really lighting it up. This guy is no chump, right? He's out here really, doing big things. But when you look at how USF attacked Alabama, that gave Alabama's defense, their defensive coordinator, coaching staff, things to look at down the road. It's not to say that Georgia's going to do the same things that USF did. They're not equipped to do those types of things. So they don't have to really worry about, okay, is Georgia going to do the same stuff that USF did to us? But as far as when you're coaching the team defensively, you're coaching the eyeballs, right? You're coaching technique, you're coaching all these things. You get better when you play teams that run schemes that you're not used to playing. You just get better when you play teams like that. And I think Bama advantage Bama in that regard, in regards to who you have played or what type of schemes or what type of teams have you played thus far. Now, when it comes down to Georgia stacking the box or whatever the case may be, if you go back and look at that college football playoff game when Texas and Washington squared off, even when Washington played Michigan, Washington was just off just a little bit here or there. They were in that game. They just missed on a couple throws here or there. Those are things you can fine tune and dial in. I'm telling you, you're going to see some exotic looks, some exotic formations. I'm talking about like a triangle over here on the right side, a wide out over here, a single running back in the backfield. You're going to see some things that you have not seen yet this season. You have not seen it, right? And that is going to give Georgia fits all night long on Saturday. Kalen DeBoer, Debo, is a fantastic X's and O's coach. Don't you think for 1 minute he hadn't had this game circled on his schedule, understanding that this is his opportunity to put his stamp on the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa? He's going to bring it all out this weekend. And he's been fortunate to the fact that he ain't had to bring nothing out but run left, run right. You know what I'm saying? Go route left, go route right. Nobody has any film on Bama. You have no film on Bama and what Bama's going to ultimately end up being in week 12 this year. It all starts on Saturday. The film work starts on Saturday. Y'all got to start preparing for Bama. Everybody going to have some film, but you still got to stop it. And I don't think anybody going to be able to do it. And it starts on Saturday. I got Bama winning this game.
Oh, yeah, and I'm glad we haven't seen it yet. Just because Bama fans, I don't think we're going to see an offense like this since Mac Jones was starting quarterback. Like when people was just running wide the hell open. Like that's what I'm ready to see again and just coming to this whole scheme. And I think, like you said, with Debo being the coach he is, we're gonna have some fireworks on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. So it's gonna be a lot to see. As long as that hurricane don't throw nothing off, we good to go.
Yeah, it'll be gone by then. But hey, it's gonna be an interesting one. We'll definitely circle back around and surely touch back on the results of this because it'll have huge implications on the rest of the season. But